All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and I am so privileged to welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show once again our friend who is the founder and president of the David Horowitz Freedom Center, and he's founder of Front Page Magazine, frontpagemag.com, and also author of a brilliant new series of books, The Black Book of the American Left, and I have volumes 1 and 2 in my left hand. I don't know why it's in my left hand. Maybe it's because that's where David Horowitz started. Anyway, we welcome in David. Hello, David.
Thank you, Steve.
And it was great seeing you down and great to be at Restoration Weekend. So many wonderful people, so many wonderful people that spoke and were in panels, and to hear Ted Cruz and Ben Carson give keynote addresses, and I was fortunate enough to interview each one for Newsmax. So just a wonderful event. Congratulations.
Oh, good. Well, thanks for coming.
Well, it was my pleasure. All right, before we get to the books, and we will have time for that, your take on the what some are calling a catastrophic deal with Iran.
It is catastrophic. It's worse. It's worse than Munich because, after Chamberlain sold the Czechs down the river to Hitler, although they suffered and many of them died, they weren't obliterated. Whereas the Obamacare deal with Iran jeopardizes the lives of the entire Jewish people in Israel. Israel is like the size of New Jersey. A nuclear bomb or two could just wipe out the population. And the Iranians, of course, they're worse than the Nazis because Hitler hid the final solution, his plan to exterminate the Jews from the German people, whereas the Ahmadinejad and the Iranian mullahs shouted from the... Now, this isn't the first time this Kerry has committed treason and sold out America and its allies. But when he did it before, he was just a soldier.
You're talking about when he came back from Vietnam, obviously.
That's right, and he not only betrayed America and the Vietnamese who were fighting the communists, but he betrayed the people he fought alongside of, his comrades, his buddies, claiming that they committed atrocities, which they did not do. He's a wretched human being, John Kerry, and the fact that he's Secretary of State is just reflective of what's happened to this country.
I was just going to say, isn't it a reflection of the man who appointed him? It's just who he is.
The movement, which is now in control of the Democratic Party, which is what this book, The Black Book of the American Left, is about. Barack Obama, my parents were card-carrying members of the Communist Party, and I became a leader of the New Left, which was just an offshoot of, was formed by children of communists who wanted to get away from the stigma of Stalin and revive the communist movement. That's what the New Left was about. Barack Obama, Valerie Jarrett, who's behind this Iranian deal and is Obama's most important and closest and longest-serving advisor, and David Axelrod, who's his campaign strategist, all three of them were born into the same communist movement that I was, grew up in it, were trained in it, graduated to the neo-communist New Left, and have never left it. That's the movement that's in control of American policy now. Part of the reason that I put together this book and the ones that will follow is because, conservatives have been scratching their heads and saying, how is it possible that we got such a person in the White House? For 20 years, I was saying, don't call these people liberals. They're leftists. They hate you, and they hate this country, and they want to destroy it, and they will, if given the chance. I think that conservatives have waked up in the last 5 years.
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I was good.
This is not even Bill Clinton. Clinton lied about his sex life. This guy lies about absolutely everything and every day. because he has all these covered agendas that he can't reveal openly, which are to destroy the American military, to destroy the American economy, to create a system through Obamacare, which thankfully is blowing up as we speak, in which he would control every American. This wasn't about covering the uninsured. I mean, even now it's obvious, and all the commentators are saying that it'll still leave 30 million people uninsured. Hopefully it'll just collapse of its own weight. But that's never what it was about. It wasn't about affordable health care. It's going to be more expensive for everybody now. It wasn't about you can keep your plan. You can't. This is socialism. This is where the government tells you what you can and what you can't do. They have pediatric dental care as part of everybody's policy, even if you don't have children.
And maternity coverage, David.
And maternity coverage, and on and on.
For you and me, yeah.
It's not about providing better, cheaper health care. It's about controlling every American, having access not only to their health information, but the ability to deny you health, operations that you may need. Just the ability to control you. Everything that this book, the Black Book of the American Left, when you read it, you will see the mentality of these people and why they're after your freedom. That's what it's all about.
And by the way,
when they run up these debts, what that means is you're already an indentured servant, everybody listening to this, because you're working probably, if you add up all the taxes, 1 out of every 2 days, half the year, you're working for the government instead of for yourself and your family and your agendas. You're working for the government. Every time the government runs up another $1 trillion in debt, they're adding weeks, months to your indentured servitude. That's what it's about. And until in the end they just want you to be working for them.
We're talking to David Horowitz, founder and president of the David Horowitz Freedom Center here on the Steve Malzberg Show. And, of course, the man who has written so many books, but he has a new series. It's called The Black Book of the American Left. Volume 1, My Life in Times. Volume 2, I have in my hand, is Progressives. David, just interesting, one more note on Obamacare. Mark Halpern was on with us earlier, and he admitted, in the context of our conversation with media coverage, how the media never got involved in scrutinizing Obamacare, and he admitted that. But he also admitted that there are death panels. Death panels are written into Obamacare. He actually said that.
Well, of course.
Well, I know that, but he's on he's one of the leftist media people, and he actually said Obama needs to start talking about this now. So that's the next shoe to drop.
He's not going to talk about it.
Of course not. Of course not.
They all do.
Yeah, well, that goes back. One other thing about, so on the right after the anniversary of JFK's death, there's so much talk about JFK by the Democrats. JFK would not know who these Democrats are. There's so much talk that Reagan wouldn't fit in with the Republican Party, which I don't believe. But JFK would not come anywhere near being the kind of Democrat that represents the Democratic Party these days.
Well, I've been saying for years, if you want to measure how far left the Democratic Party has gone, you just have to realize that John F. Kennedy had politics identical to Ronald Reagan's. He was a hawk on defense. He had the biggest military buildup in peacetime history. He was a militant anti-communist. He was for a capital gains tax cut and a balanced budget. That's who John F. Kennedy was. Today, he'd be regarded as a right-wing, Republican conservative.
Yeah, no, without a doubt, absolutely. All right, what do you want people to know about the series, the Black Book of the American Left? What do you want them to know most of all about why you wrote it and what they're going to gain from it?
Well, I wrote it because people, and this is really for people on the right. This is the unvarnished. I didn't coat this so that
It's the hard truth, yeah.
that's right. But conservatives, this is to show you that these people are not liberals and that their roots are in the communist left. This is who they are. This is what they came out of. You have to. One of the things, I wrote this over 15, 20 years, engaged in the battles, but knowing who the enemy was, knowing who they were, not being fooled for a second by the covering they put on it. When I was a kid, Stalin was alive, and the slogan of the Communist Party was peace, jobs, and democracy. Well, that's still the slogan of the Communists. It's peace, equality, and democracy now. They hide their agendas. That's why I think Obama, as an individual, has obviously spent his life lying about himself and everything he stands for. That's the way he operates. But every leftist lies of necessity because they can't tell you what their agendas are because they're so discredited. They can't tell you, that they want to basically control everybody's life and tell you what to do, right down to the last big gulp.
Right. And
that's their agenda. Their agenda is anti-freedom. It's to take away your freedom. This book, in going over it, editing it, I had forgotten many of the battles that were fought along the way. Again, when people, suddenly woke up and said, oh my Lord, look who's in the White House, it's because they weren't paying enough attention to what was going on over the last 20 years. And this book is really about that.
Yeah.
It talks about my leaving the left, what the left I left was about, the attacks that liberals made on me, so-called liberals, for leaving the left. Some of it is about the Black Panther Party. There's a chapter called Black Murdering, which is about how the Panthers murdered my friend, which is what really expelled me from the left.
And David, as you put in towards the beginning of Volume 1, that this is also about, as you mentioned, and we talked about Barack Obama wanting to fundamentally change America. He meant it. He's doing it, and unfortunately, it's continuing. I wish you all the best with the book, and thank you for coming on. And it was great to see you, and we'll speak to you soon.
Hey, Steve. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. David Horowitz, ladies and gentlemen. The collected conservative writings of David Horowitz, the Black Book of the American Left. Must reading to understand what is going on in this country, what is happening before our very eyes from a man who was on the other side, who's come over, who's, come back, and now he's the tattletale, okay? And you got to get it. David Horowitz, folks. When we come back, we're coming back. Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV, and